Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Volcano Shelton Show. I'm Volcano Shelton here with you this evening. We thought we were going live and we started the podcast, and only to our surprise, it just cut off. And again, as I said, technology has a way of treating folks. No matter how much you put into it, no matter how much you try to get it to work for you, it sometimes does what it wants to do. But it's good to be back here. I'd like to welcome all of you. Please help me now. Let's share this show. Last night we came out here with the issues room. We're trying to resume our broadcast, and we're going to utilize one day a week to start with because of our different schedules. It's been very difficult to keep up with professionals who are working and advancing in their career. So much work is involved. And so we wanted to do justice to the platform. That is why we took a break and trying to figure out our schedule. And it's been difficult. And so we finally were able to come back together to discuss this. And so now we're here with the hope that we will be able to do this at least once a week. I'm trying to find the live broadcast here. I'm not seeing it yet. And again, as I said, this is what Facebook does. When you're looking for something, it's almost like, where is it? It's not coming. So if anyone there right now who can see us, if we're live, please say that, comment, in the chat room, so we can see if there's any one who is there that is currently watching us live, because I don't see anything being fed right now. So again, I'm hoping that we can get a signal here that we're live, because I'm trying to share the show, but it's not coming through yet on the Facebook side. So I'm not sure why that is happening, but please help me if you're there and watching us right now. If we're live, please help me to notify us, because again, as I said, I'm not seeing the show, and so I'm kind of perplexed as to why it's not coming through yet live. But anyhow, I'd like to welcome you if you're there. Again, as I said, the Issues Room will be resuming broadcast on every Tuesday, and then the Volcano Shelton Show will be on Thursday. Please let me know if you are there, because again, as I said, this is strange. I'm not seeing the show yet. It says that the broadcast is going. I'm hoping that I'm live and not in record, because I don't know why I'm not seeing it as of now. Um, please, let me know if it's live. I would appreciate it. Wherever that you're picking up the signal from, I would definitely appreciate it. Please share with me if it's live. Do me that favor. Again, I don't want to sit here and soliloquize. I have a good program tonight, production tonight, and I really want a lot of folks on so that we can do this together. So I'm appealing to you to please help me. Let me know if the broadcast is going through, because I don't see what I'm looking for. I keep coming back and forth, and okay, so it's finally here. From what I'm looking at, I'm hoping that it is here now to stay, because again, these things to do all kinds of crap. But anyway, I just like to say welcome to the broadcast this evening. I thought to look at a subject as to who will be the best president for Liberia. Who's going to be the best president for Liberia? Um, I know we have tried many presidents. Is it the president the problem for our country to be where it's at? Is it the president, or is it the president's appointees, and the other branches of government that are collectively responsible for our missteps as a nation? Is that what it is? Because I've been concerned, very concerned, as to why we have not gone anywhere far. We're about to celebrate yet another year of existence. And we still continue to see this as the issue. We continue to see this as the issue. So really, who is responsible for this? Is it just the president? So what type of president will be the right president for our country? Have we thought about it? Have we? So let's tend to look at uh, a better way. So Liberia isn't about charisma. The president of Liberia isn't just about charisma. It's a person who can reliably operate a weak state and slowly strengthen it. Because Liberia is a weak state. Look at what's happening at the border. I'm so afraid if we can really protect our territorial lines, the 43,000 square miles we're talking about as a nation, can we protect it? It has fragile institutions. The country depends on donor, the urban pressure in Monrovia, uneven delivery of services, you know. So, what type of president do we need for 2029? Because I hear people talking about certain candidates. What is their track record? What do we know about them when it comes to leadership? We know about Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. We know her good and her bad. We know about George Weah. We know his competence and inabilities. We know about Joe Boyka, who is in power for the last 2.5 going 3 years. We know his strength and we know his weaknesses. And we're yet to deal with those strengths and weaknesses as we go along. Then there's Alexander Cummings, who we don't know his political leadership, but we know about his corporate leadership. Then we got to understand that Cummings' arena he operated in was not one of those arenas anyone can just do anything. There were systems in place. He had to follow, he had to stay structured. He was evaluated. So he had to work extra hard to please, the corporation. So that's a whole different kind of leadership. Now, can it transfer into political leadership? Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Do we know anything about Musa Ability, who is running around here? What did he do in leadership? I believe the first leadership position that I know of, and maybe there are others, he's a businessman. So, of course, he should have some leadership to strengthen his business and to do his business. But I know of his presidency of the Liberia Football Association. What type of leadership style did he take to that organization? And during his tenure at the LFA, what was his leadership like? So these are the things that we need to begin to look at. But our voters don't see it that way. Our voters just want to vote. They just want to vote because they always tire with this person and go for that person. I mean, it's just difficult to understand it. So who is that president? I want to say here that execution, discipline, not just the vision. We want a president who can execute. Like we see Joe Boyka is doing to some degree. People are not happy, but in the long run, people will get to appreciate what this president is doing. I just saw a live feed right now in Monrovia. They're going around and telling businesses to lower the music, to lower the music. Those small drinking spots all over the place. Don't give a good image to the country when everywhere you turn is just loud noise. Even the megaphone that the people use, buy a Lone Star Mini, yeah, so in the morning before you can even wake up. This time the chicken don't wake you up. It is all the noise coming from those people. So that's a big problem. That's a serious problem. So there's a president now who's using execution discipline. He had his vision, the arrest agenda, but outside of all of that, if you don't execute, then you're just there for nothing. So that's the kind of president we need to look for in 2029. A president who would execute. Liberia has plans. We know that we have strategies, we have policy documents, but the gap has always been implementation. We cannot implement the things that we put on paper because of many priorities, right? A strong president must set few priorities and finish them. You can't overwhelm yourself. Don't bite more than you can chew. Do not bite more than you can chew as a president. Look for the critical things and focus on its implementation. That is the way to go. So, execution, discipline. Be disciplined to what you want. When President Boyka said, "Oh, the other day he asked when he got back, I believe it was the AU, and he was asked, so about the Yeka Koluba case, he said some things didn't happen yesterday. It doesn't mean it won't happen today. Our young people can't continue to think that Liberia is just a lawless society. Our time, we were structured. So it is our hope that we can rekindle those good old days. Many of us in the diaspora look forward to returning home, but not into a chaos, not into a mess, not into a society that is lawless. Look at what happened to the young woman the other day. So you want to be looking for a president in 2029, but you don't even know what type of character trait that president should have. You know nothing about that president. The president just come and put his ideology and his manifesto, but you don't look at his track record. So my purpose here is to continue to enlighten you. Don't just look for a president. Look for someone who will have execution discipline to change the country, track performance weekly or monthly, remove or replace underperforming officials without hesitation. That's the component of execution discipline in leadership. Someone who will come to power and say, you know what, listen, man, I put you there, but you're not performing, so I'm letting you go. I can't keep doing this. That's execution discipline. That's a component in leadership that we're looking for in our 2029 president. One who will take the axe and cut the tree down. Not going to wait until the tree grow other character. Because our country, we can't continue to operate like this. So that's a critical piece to have as a president. Very critical. Very, very critical. Execution discipline is very critical. All right. So then, in Liberia context, good intention without execution is one of the main failure patterns across our administrations. And that includes Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and George Weah. These presidents have good intentions or had good intentions in the leadership, but they fail to implement, they fail to take some actions, certain actions that wasn't good for the leadership. In the case of President Weah, it had to take the Americans to sanction some of the key government officials to send him a message. They had to pull him here to the CIA to send him a message. Your intentions cannot be so good to keep your cronies. Your intention cannot be so good to keep bad people around you. Because at the end of the day, those bad people, when you are going down, in the case of Charles Taylor, where are his bad boys? Some of them are still marauding around Monrovia, enjoying the gains, the loots that he got during his tenure. He's the one in jail rotten for 50 years. He may not come out. So can you not see it as a president? All of that good intent, good intent, good intent. It doesn't carry you. That's why you need execution discipline. You must have your structure in place. You must know who will work for you and who will do as expected, because the implementation of your vision is critical to your leadership. It's very critical. It's critical to the outcome. We can't continue to play the same game. All right, you can't just bring the same recyclables around you. People who come from the other side join you, or people who from your internal who should see you to carry this torch for the interest of the country. And then all of you turn to crowd of boys and crowd of girls. That's what I said. Sometimes in leadership, cronyism can lead to we're running a social club. We're running a pastime. Haven't you seen your leaders and the associates and the cronies gather? What you think the Jamaica resort was built for under George Weah? It's a not rehab, but relaxation place. It is a place where the president unwind, and all his boys and girls that go there and they chill. He plays his sports. If he smokes weed, he smokes weed. If he drank Hennessy, he drank a Hennessy. Whatever happened in that place is like Little Vegas. Let's call it Little Vegas today. I would name it Little Vegas. Okay? President Weah's Jamaica resort is now called Little Vegas. And why I say that, because what happens in Vegas, still in Vegas. And you and I know that many people went over there, they took their phones from them because many things happen behind the scene. You run the country, you go for 4 hours at the executive mansion, you spend the rest of your day at the Jamaica resort. I'm sure that Barker has his own little place where he go and chill. I'm sure that Charles Taylor had his place where he went and chill. Ellen Johnson the same way. Okay? So we can continue to run the country like we're running a social club. Low tolerance for patronage politics. That's the president you should look for in 2029. Someone who has low tolerance for patronage politics, because that's the politics that continue to run our country. Everybody wants a piece of the pie, and political conglomeration is the reason for this. But that president needs to get to that place. So the biggest structural barrier to progress is not a lack of ideas, it's political appointment systems that reward loyalty over competence. The president goes into making deals because our electoral system is almost impossible to win in the first round. So in the second round, the two top parties have to strike deals. So this is not about politics of rewarding loyalty. Rather competence. They oftentimes reward loyalty. Patronage. You patronized me, so I gave you the job. Whether that person is competent to perform the role. We see that time immemorial with our government structure. So this is a very critical area. Willingness to appoint technocrats in key sectors like energy, health, and sanitation. So even in that discussion with you and your political alliances, you want to say, listen, I understand that I would need your support, but there are some critical positions that I can't just give to what name you sent to me. I'm reserving them for the actual technocrats, the people who can perform the job with track records, the people who will deliver into sectors. Because Samuel Tour, what is his name? Amos Tour is what do you call it? Secretary General of UP. You send him to LPRC. Where has Samuel Tour worked? Not Samuel Tour, Amos Tour work. Where? Because Sekou Douglas does something for you, you send him to the National Port Authority. No vision. The port remains the same corrupt place. That's what we're talking about. Put people in places where they're technocrats. Resistance to political pressure for jobs and contracts. That's the kind of president you want for 2029 if our country has to change. The president who has low tolerance for patronage. So you can't pressure that president to give jobs and to give contracts because of the alliance. Those things should be done on the basis of competence, of qualification, of track record of performance. That's very critical. You can't just always be the same thing and you say you're going to change the system. I understand that there will be political alliances. But again, Mr. President of 2029, sit to the table, tell your collaborators, say, listen, this is what I have for you. If I don't be president, so be it. But this is what I have for you. Because that country has to change. Clear consequences for underperformance. You need to set the record. In the first 100 days of your administration, when you have your first cabinet retreat, within the first month of your leadership, you need to set it clear expectations. Anyone who underperforms in the first 100 days, you cut. Whether you're from the political alliance, whether you're from the Unity Party, whether you're from the ruling government, whatever, we cut you. That is critical. With this, ministries become employment centers, not service delivery institutions. We want places that will deliver, right? But not just to be on the basis of just service. We want it to be an employment place where people go to work to function. That person also must have institutional systems over personalities. That's a critical area for the 2029 president. Liberia's progress cannot depend on individuals. It must depend on systems. Because why? Systems remain. Individuals come and go. So when we build credible systems, when we put credible systems in place, our leaders, will thrive. They will do well. Because if we continue to depend on individual talents, the country goes nowhere. Strengthen agencies like the Liberia Electricity Corporation instead of micromanaging it. You want to privatize it, for instance, because energy is one of the critical sectors in the country that we struggle with. We seem not to be able to get what you call it, stable electricity. So that's one area you can work with. You want to fix rules, budgets, and incentives. All right? It shows continuity beyond their term. This is what separates projects that die after elections from lasting reform. There's a tendency the president comes, he makes noise about all the things he's going to do, then no implementation. And then another year gone, and then another year gone, another year gone, and 6 years gone. Look, I'll tell you, folks, 6 years is a long time to deal with a bad government. Don't you know that? 6 years is a long time to deal with a bad government. If a good government is in power, a great president is in power, you wouldn't even feel the 6 years. It'll come and go like that. But a bad government, the 6 years looks like 12 years, double that. Because when you have investment coming and investors coming and presidents visiting, world leaders coming, they're going, the country is booming. Within the 6 years of a good presidency, you don't feel it just come quick and just go. And you be like, oh wow, 6 years gone. But imagine under a bad government, how long you're going to sit there waiting with the hope that, Lord, either the president should die in office or we got to stay here until we do this thing for 6 years, right? Comfort with decentralization. That president should focus now on real governance happens locally, not in the presidency. We want a president, don't come back and do the same thing that Ellen did. And we didn't know much better. So he did the same thing that Ellen did. And here we got Joe Biden doing the same thing that UP did since that was what they started. We should decentralize government. We should go back to the local government, all right? Put the people, resources in their hands at the local levels. That is critical for accountability. Don't be appointing city mayors. I know it costs to go to these elections, but we can infuse everything in the ballot for the national elections. We can do that. We can find a way. We can see where that has happened so that we can have one elections. So that if I want to be mayor of Painesville, I should go in a race to become the mayor of Painesville. Let me tell the people I was born in Painesville. I was born on GSA Road. Here's what I have here. I'm from here. Don't take somebody from Adam Stray Cat and make him the mayor of Painesville, all because you politically appointing that person. What commitment that person has to Painesville? They're just there because of the gravy. They're just there because of a salary. Oftentimes, those people are not vested. They don't even have relationship with the common people. That is why the government needs to move away from all these appointments. So government must be decentralized. The government, that president of 2029, needs to move away and empower the counties and city governments outside of Monrovia. Tie funding to performance at local levels. So I will give you money in Wenstown if you do XYZ and we see the result. And if you miss doing what you are supposed to do, we'll cut it or we'll underfund you until you get it right, right? Except that central control must be reduced for service to improve. The government of 2029 needs to say, you know what? For us to improve as a nation, we got to what? Decentralized service. What for Nimba, go to Nimba. What for Sano, go to Sano. And we got to make sure that the local people manage their resources. That is critical. Pragmatism over ideology. Liberia doesn't have room for ideological experiments. A successful Liberian leader of 2029 will work with donors without becoming dependent on them. You can't take the Ellen Johnson era of 12 years of donor funding and after she left, it dissipated. And she was happy. Oh yeah, we are going to struggle. Oh yeah, Joe Biden now going to struggle, right? So we have to move away from ideology. We got to be pragmatic. So government should partner with donor in ways that they cannot continue to remain dependent. That is critical. Support private sector growth without over-regulating and under-regulating. What that means here, you can make everything difficult for the private sector. You can make everything difficult for your own Liberian brothers coming from the diaspora to start a business. There must be a tier. There must be some leniency for Liberian entrepreneurs, especially those who are coming from the diaspora with the intent to come back and invest in their own country. You can put the Liberian diaspora businessman with the foreign businessman on the same parity. You can't do that. There must be a layer, a step between the two. So over-regulating and under-regulating is not a good theory for improvement in the sector, whether public-private sector. It is critical. So we need to begin to see that president who will make that promise and hold them accountable. Liberians in the diaspora, Liberians in Liberia must have a different climate for how they do business. The regulations, the taxations should be different from a foreigner who came to invest in your country but take his gain back to his country. That's the difference there. We should choose cheap, scalable solutions over prestige projects. You don't want to make things so flamboyant, and then you don't have the resources rather to certify it. Basic sanitation system and reliable electricity matter more than large symbolic infrastructure. So building a $200 million dam, right? Then you go and not be able to produce electricity. Look at the money that Ellen spent to rehabilitate the hydro. We could have done something else on the Lofa River. We could have done something else on the St. John's River. We could have done something else on the Kavala River. We could have done something else. So we want to be able to look at it from that perspective. That president should also be have communication that builds social discipline. Liberia challenges sanitation, corruption, electricity theft, tax compliance are partly behavioral. These things are behavioral. They're not because people can afford it. People can pay tax, but they don't want to pay tax. Government leaders can pay tax, but they're the ones who decide not to pay tax. It's behavioral. Government officials still stealing electricity because they feel that the house is in fence, so there's no access. We saw something where the guy was stealing electricity. They took the wires and they dug the light pole and they planted the wire in the light pole and resealed it and ran it on the ground to his house. Accordingly, he did not want to pay the boss the balance money, so the boss went there and exposed him. So can you imagine you making money? You live in a fence higher than almost the roof of your house, and you don't want to pay electricity. We have a lack of sanitation, right? We have poor sanitation system. Is it because the dye coming from in the sky? No, it is behavioral. What is happening? People take the dye and put it in the drainages. Then when flood water comes, what happens? It backs up. And even the well water, the groundwater get contaminated. That's behavioral. Our sanitation in Liberia. People walking around the street, they drink a plastic bag of water. A plastic bag, put it in your pocket, get home, put it in your home trash. No, they take it and just drop it anywhere. Right? So these things are behavioral. Corruption is behavioral because no systems in place holding them accountable, taking the jobs from them, persecuting them. Look at what happened just the other day. Samuel 12 got up the hook. Do you think that Samuel 12 is not guilty or he's guilty? We don't know because we have weak systems. We have compromised juror. We have a lot of problems with our judiciary. So that's why corruption perseveres. It continues. So the president communicate constantly and plainly, set national expectations, cleanliness, payment of services, civic duty, build social pressure for compliance and not just legal enforcement. I don't have to wait for the police to come and tell me, say, stop speeding. We have billboards, we have signboards, we have stop signs, we have speed limits, we have all of those things that govern me to drive. Because the expectation there is that I could get caught. We should develop the behavior, and the president can set that tune. The 2029 president should set that tune, should make that a national social communication policy. That's why you say you have LBS. Instead of Fagon and his boys then running around the place, LBS will not be the same. What are the social messages that they're creating that continue to perseverate in the ears of the citizens? These are the things that I'm talking about. So, Boyka, don't just appoint people to position because they were making noise on spoon because of you to bring you to power. And up to now, all we hear, LBS will not be the same again. I'm being honest here tonight. The straight talk. You're watching the Volcano Shelton show here on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. Welcome. My name is Volcano Shelton. Today we're talking about what type of president will make a good president for 2029. We already know what our past president looks like, what they've done, what they're doing, and their intent to come back. So we're looking at some of the things that are critical for the next president, and that's what I'm covering here. And I hope this is educational. I want you to send your comments in, please, if you can. I would appreciate it. I'm looking forward to some comments here tonight. So I'm not sure if everything is good on your end, but if it's so, I ask people to have, say something, but I haven't heard anything yet. So hoping that someone going to say something. But this platform is where opinions erupt with straight talk and no hard feelings. So stay tuned. We're discussing who that president will be. So if you can, please send your comments in. I'd like to see if we can get some comments here tonight. So let's continue, right? So this is not just about passing laws and doing these things. It's about building the kind of behavior so that people, right? People can practice. It can become a part of them, that the law don't have to be so strong to enforce. Because why? Yes, I'm used to it. I'm used to it. And I don't need to be told. I don't need to be told. I'm already aware. This is what we do. So, for instance, the cleaning up on the first Saturday of the month between 6 and 10, that's something that people know, even though there are people who still cutting corners. Some people will still open their little store in, halfway. What you call the mean customers will still going there and sleeping there until they get caught. But yes, but it becomes a national behavior across the country. So just wanted to give that. So that's another thing here we want to hopefully say that president should have integrity with consistency. We're not looking for a perfect president because there's no one who is perfect. But we're looking for a president who has integrity with consistency. No leader is flawless, but Liberia is highly sensitive to perception of corruption. We always say, oh, yeah, that man a rogue. Yeah, that man a rogue. But of course, because we look at the man's lifestyle, we looked at the man's condition before he arose to the position, before he got appointed, before he got voted for. And then within no time, we see all this massive wealth. Yes. So there would be perception around corruption, right? So the next president must avoid visible conflicts of interest. That is a critical component for the next president of 2029 to have. He or she needs to avoid visible conflict of interest. What is that conflict of interest? You, the president, you take your son and you make your son finance minister to run to control the money so that it can, you guys can have control over it. So that's major conflict of interest. Or we hear that the president's son is the minister of state for presidential affairs. That's conflict of interest. You bring your son to work right under you in your office. That's conflict of interest. So the president should avoid visible conflict of interest. Enforce transparency in contracts and procurement. So if we say we're going to develop systems and implement systems, then these bureaus and institutions responsible for contracts for awarding contracts. That, for instance, the National Investment Commission of Liberia, the National Bureau of Concessions, the public procurement, whatever, a corporation, PPC, or something like that. All of these institutions need to be what? Accountable, and they need to be transparent in the dispensing of their responsibilities. Why you think oftentimes they ask, did that stuff go through the proper channel? Was that contract awarded the proper way? There was bidding. There was convincing reasons why one person didn't get it and the next person got it. That is critical. Except scrutiny, audits, and public accountability. Those institutions cannot run from accepting scrutiny. They cannot run from audits, and they cannot run from public accountability. And that includes the president. Trust is a multiplier. Without it, even good policies fail. You don't want the people to think that, you are doing something wrong, but you're not open, because, yes, you will give them that reason to think that you're doing something wrong, because you're not opening. You're not allowing scrutiny. You're not allowing audits, and you're not showing public accountability. This is critical. Emotional restraint under political pressure. A president, that kind of president, politics can be factional, and you know that. So a strong leader must avoid rather impulsive reshuffle of political retaliation cycles. A good president of 2029 should avoid impulsive reshuffles. Now, we're not saying that you shouldn't reshuffle. We're saying that reshuffle, but it shouldn't be so impulsive. Let it be for a good cause. If you think your people are performing well and there's no noise in the society, because we say what? Where there's smoke, there's fire. When people complain about a special appointee, or one who is running an institution, you yourself, Mr. President or Miss President, know that the institution is underperforming. And when an institution underperforms, there are a lot of factors, but the leader is responsible. Just like we said, the president is responsible for our land now under a siege by the Guineans. The president is responsible. What is he doing for us to get our land back? That's why everybody is saying, Mr. Boyka, right? So stay focused on long-term goals despite criticism. So let's come back to the dog, what you call metaphor that the president used, figurative expression that if you were going, for something, and a lot of dogs barking at you, are you going to stop and throw stone at each dog? That means you're not going to get to your destination, even though people took it out of context. But this is what we're talking about here, that the president and his team need to stay focused on their long-term goals despite criticism. That leader who is coming to power in 2029, if you say you're going to fix the Bali Island in the case of George Weah, then focus on doing the Bali Island. Once the scientists, once the builders, the engineers say, yes, we can do the Bali Island here, we can ride boat from across the Stockton Creek to Snapper Hill, or to what they call it, Slipway, then that should be your focus. That should be where the money goes. And you must follow the money to make sure that it's for the intended purpose. That's what a leader does. Stay focused despite criticism. That leader must also maintain stability while still enforcing discipline. Patience is critical for gradual change, right? But urgency in execution. So we want to say, yes, you can be patient, Mr. President, but you need to be urgent. There's a sense of urgency in execution. You want some of that to happen, because once everyone becomes complacent, then much cannot be done. So then you have sound contradictory but critical. You need that president. Infrastructure and institutions take time to build. Like, for instance, President Bwaka is talking about the roads, right? It's no ordinary feat to do roads, because you don't want to just do haphazard roads, cheap roads. We have very difficult soil, and some of these roads will cave in, they'll crack in no time if people don't do it the right way, put the drainages or put the median and whatever, all of the different things that make road better. If they don't do it good, then we'll spend that money and then we'll go right back to the drawing board. So infrastructure and institutions take time, but implementation must be relentless and immediate. You can't drag on it. It must be relentless and immediate. The balance is slow transformation but fast execution cycles. Ability to prioritize brutally. That president of 2029, when you're looking for a president, look for a president who will prioritize brutally. What that means, Liberia cannot be fixed, right? Or Liberia cannot fix everything at once. So we cannot fix everything at once. A good leader must identify 3 to 5 national priorities. Example, electricity, sanitation, job, governance reforms. Those are critical areas that the president of 2029 needs to identify. So that is why we say ability to prioritize brutally. So you don't want to just say, I will do everything. You're lying to yourself, because Liberia is a difficult puzzle. You can't sit on a table and do that puzzle. From 1847, right, to now, we're still doing this puzzle. Leaders have come and still doing this puzzle, but you need to take 5 key priorities and enforce implementation. Work to improve those areas. Ignore distractions outside those priorities, right? Say no more than say yes. You need to say more. No more, rather. You need to say no more than say yes. Everything cannot be yes. Everything cannot be yes. This is the hardest one. Political skills. You got to have it. You got to understand. So I see why people still question Mr. Cummings' ability as a politician. He hasn't really held a political position in the country. We can say, oh yeah, George Weah became senator. He may not have performed to expectation, to many people's expectation, but he became senator. So for Cummings to have come into the race at this level and not try to find some kind of political appointment to understand the inner workings of political governance, political leadership, that's difficult. So how do you, as I said, it's possible to transmit corporate leadership into political leadership. But remember, corporate leadership has a certain standard. You are evaluated. You have a quota to meet. In political leadership, you screw up, you may not get reelected, like in the case of George Weah. But what's the consequence? You walk away filthy rich. And you sit there and enjoy your gains. So that's the difference. So, Mr. Cummings, your team need to begin to quiz you. They need to work with you if you're going to be the 2029 guy. Otherwise, you're not ready for the political governance of Liberia. Liberia is a complex puzzle, and you cannot easily solve it with corporate experience. There are many things you can bring to it. You can bring fidelity. You can bring incorruptibility. You can bring good leadership. But just imagine the political patronage when these vultures suck your blood. When all of these political vultures come around you, you will get confused. So that is why political skill is so hard to attain. You cannot be a politician and you're not a liar. You cannot be a politician and you can't say no. You cannot be a politician and you can't do certain things. You cannot be a politician and you don't dance with the devil, like in the case of Mr. Parker. So there's a lot of things here, but we look for a leader who would develop the political skills in the positive categories of what we're talking about here tonight. The bottom line is the next president does not need to be a savior figure. The president of 2029 does not need to be a savior. He cannot save Liberia. The country needs a leader who is operationally disciplined. I want you guys to capture this now, because this is the meat crust of my conversation tonight. We are not looking for a savior in 2029, but we're looking for a leader who is operationally disciplined, institution focused. As I said, we have rules, we have policies, we have all of these things, but we fail implementation because our systems and our institutions are weak. We always talking about the judiciary as a weak system. We talk about the healthcare sector as weak. We talk about the educational sector as weak. So we need a president who will be institutionally focused. How does he improve this institution for the better of the country? We need a president who will be resistant to patronage pressure. You president, then every day people coming to you and bringing somebody appointed one, my man, appointed one, appointed one. At what point do you make that decision for yourself and say, hey, 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 slow down, slow down? Not everyone you bring here will have to appoint, because at the end of the day, government cannot be the only employer. I said it the other day. Government cannot be the only employer. That is why if this president focuses on institutional improvement, then people can go into institutions and make impact. Everyone can be minister, man. Everyone can be deputy minister. Is that the only place? So the president of 2029 needs to be resistant to patronage pressure, able to enforce accountability at every level, Mr. President, from your office to the janitor at the mansion. Because you don't want the janitor stealing the toilet tissues and the hand washing soap and carrying it home, or taking the boxes and selling it in the community. You think corruption is only at your level? So accountability should start in your office and transcend to the bottom, to the very janitor of the executive mansion. So enforcing accountability is critical. That is why we say do not keep lazy people on the job, people who are underperforming. You can't come back and say, I take responsibility after you failed. No, let the people who failed take their own responsibility. You give them an opportunity to work, and if they can't perform, damn it, get them out. Again, Liberia has 5.2 million people, or 5.5 million people, how you want to put it. The government size is about what, 62, 63,000 out of 5 point something million, and you telling me you will be recycling the same criminals? You'll be recycling the same lazy people? Or you're going to say, you know what, you're not performing, get out of here. Pragmatic about what actually delivers jobs and services. You can't just come here and say, oh, we will create jobs, but you can't tell the Liberian people how you're going to create jobs. This is not a joke. You got to be able to explain. So Liberia doesn't primarily need a visionary. It needs a system builder who can execute consistently in a difficult political environment. This isn't a single type of person who can magically fix Liberia. The country's challenges, weak institutions, limited resources, urban pressure in Monrovia, and dependence on donors mean that the system shape outcomes and as much as the individuals. So that's what we need to do to work on in terms of finding the next president. That said, Liberia's recent experience under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and Joseph Boyga does not show a pattern. Intentions are enough. Execution and discipline matter more. So having good intention, having the intention to say, yes, I'll do this, but executing, execution discipline is critical. That's matter. That's the most important piece in this discussion tonight. The kind of president Liberia needs is ruthlessly focused on execution, not speeches or plan. The president we need for 2029 is someone who is not just coming to speak to us and give us plans. We want focused execution. Set a few clear national priorities. Again, as I said, sanitation, electricity, jobs. Track them constantly through the people you leave them to do, and remove or replace officials who don't deliver. I continue to say that. Those people who are not visionaries, who are not working for your government, get rid of them. Whether they came from the opposition, imposition, whatever, get rid of them. The difference maker is not a vision, it's relentless implementation, as we're saying. Willing to confront patronage and corruption. The next president of Liberia cannot be caught in the cookie jar all the time, cannot be summoning this finance minister and the other lucrative institutions like LPRC NPA and the central bank to bring money to them. That person needs to confront patronage and corruption. Liberia's political system is still run heavily on patronage networks. You and I know, right? Again, as I said, our electoral system, for the fact that the one guy who won in the first round landslide was Charles Taylor, we're not going to see that anytime soon, especially with these two parties that we have here called Unity Party and CDC. We're going to be running second round elections. So patronage networks become a part. Political appointments over competence become a part, right? A reform-minded president must appoint based on performance, not loyalty. Enforce consequences for underperformance, except short-term political backlash, because those things will come about. You and I know everything is politicized in Liberia. So that this is where many leaders struggle. Reform threatens their own support base. You saw people here the other day. We were all in the poo-poo water and we ain't got a job. We were all in the poo-poo water and we ain't got a job. I just did a small little talk on that. By you supporting a political party in 2029 doesn't mean you're going to get a job. You're supporting that political party because you believe in the ideology and the manifesto of that political party. What that political party has to offer that aligns with your vision for yourself, your family, your community, and your country. So your support should not be about trying to get job, because remember, a political party will have a membership of 50,000 people, maybe 100,000 people. All the other people that vote in the elections, when you see a political party, those are all what we consider sympathizers, people who say, you know what, my party didn't make it to the second round, so I'll just go for this one. It looks good, So, but if your party membership is about 75,000 and the government only has, or the country only has 63,000 in government job, will all of you get job at any level? And how are you going to get job when many of you may not have the qualification? So this whole idea of, oh yeah, hey, you're the one. So don't listen to the opposition. The opposition is just trying to fool you. They're looking for voters for 2029. So they're swaying your mind from what is happening, because the fact remains that all of you who voted UP will not get job. And all of you will not get job in 2029 if you voted for the next political party. So just wanted to show that as a serious problem, that people think that supporting a base means that they automatically are employable. Strong, but not arbitrary. That president must have balance of power, right? Then obsessed with local government performance. That president needs to take away, delegate responsibility. Use the devolution evolution approach. Take some of government work and give it to NGOs and private sector organizations to do those things. Give it back to the local government. Let the chieftaincies and the towns and the township and the cities run their own affairs. Just be there to be obsessed with making sure that those things are going on as expected. Empower mayors and county officials, tie their funding to results, right? And publicly rank their performance. Say, okay, the city of Pinsville did extremely well with sanitation, so we're going to put a little more in the budget. The city of Barnesville didn't do well. We're not saying we're taking all the resources, but we're going to audit you, because the money that we give to Pinsville and the same money is the same money we give to you, Barnesville. How come Pinsville did well with that money and you, Barnesville, we can see what you did? Then you go ahead and you audit Barnesville. When you audit Barnesville, then you will say, all right, based on what we can account for, this is what you're going to get. So take this one now and make sure that you deliver that you should have delivered in the first time. Then you tell the world, you tell Liberia, hey, Pinsville did well. So public performance, you need to put it out there so that people feel good about the work they're doing. The leader needs to be pragmatic about development, not ideological. You need to make sure you actionize things, you put it in practice. Roads that function. Don't just say we build roads. You don't just say it. You want to build roads that function, not just any kind of road. Just put a little upgrade the area, put a little quota over here and call it a road. No, roads that function. You want to say we're going to deal with the sanitation, but then the waste still pile up. You want to collect the waste. You say job exists, you want to show where the jobs are. In sanitation, we have 50,000 jobs. In LEC, we can employ 10,000 people. Here and there, we got this job, we got this job, we got this job in these sectors. That's what is required. Don't just always talk by mouth. Able to align citizens and not just government. Sanitation, corruption, and development all involve behavior, again, as I said earlier. So communicate clearly and consistently. Create social pressure for change. Let it become behavioral. Let people want to change. Let people see that the government mean well. Utilize LBS. Utilize the Ministry of Education, Information, the Ministry of Education. Utilize the media to talk to the citizens. Let them change their behavior on how they create sanitation issues in the country. That's critical. The president's voice matters. You yourself can even do some promos as the president. Everything can be coming from certain people. Your voice is strong. That is why when the national anthem is played, whose voice will hear next? Nobody else. It is the president. The president when the national anthem is played. So people want to hear from the president. If the president come out on national television for 2 minutes and say, Liberian people, this is your president. I've come to deliver to you the good. And here's the good. Sanitation is not something we can tackle. But the way we're going to tackle it, it begins with your behavior. When you make your diet and you're walking in the street, always have a small plastic bag, put your diet in there. When you see the next dumpster, go and put it in there. You do those things. It's coming from the president. And if you don't, we'll have people, if you observe littering around the street, you will pay $50 and that's the fine. If you don't pay that fine, the court will send you to jail. You're not going to say, I will send you to jail. Take it from you. Say the court will send you to jail because that person will have to go to the court. Just like when we violate driving rule, we get a ticket. If we don't pay the ticket, there's a citation off for our arrest. The next time you get caught, the police say, hey, you had a citation. You're not going to drive this car. If I call somebody to take this car, we'll carry you to jail, right? So we can do those things, but behavioral change and the enforceability with consistency will make the change. We can change Liberia. It is practical. It's going to work. But the president needs to be what? Intentional. It can't just be about goodwill. You need to be intentional. You need to have execution discipline. And the people you put in those places must have the same. So we can get there. And I just want to say, this is my talk here for tonight. Who can be our next president? If we look at those things, I can guarantee you Liberia can move forward. And it is our hope that comes 2029, we'll not make that mistake. We'll pay attention to our future as a country because it is long overdue. Can you imagine how weak we look to the international world? Can you imagine how weak we look right in the sub-region? Our neighbor come across the border and hoist the flag on our soil, on the claim that the land belongs to them. And yet, we are at a deadlock. The government has not been congruent, has not been honest, has not come out to say what exactly the reason. There's a reason. So for us to change all of this, we need that president that I talked about. I want to thank all of you for watching the podcast tonight. Again, as I said, this is the Volcano Shelton Show. Come your way on Tuesdays and Thursdays. However, we will now go back to the issues room, resuming production on every Tuesday, 1 day a week, and the Volcano Shelton Show will be here on Thursday. So next Tuesday will be the issues room. Day after tomorrow, which is Thursday, will be the Volcano Shelton Show. So this is the last of the Volcano Shelton Show on Tuesdays. So we'll go 1 day a week for each production. Many people have asked that the issues room come back. The reason, again, why I said we went offline because of schedules. We're professional people, very busy gentlemen, and we couldn't find common grounds. It's kind of difficult to do this stuff full time when we have, lives to take care of. We have our own personal lives. We do this because it's love for country, and we think that our voice matters. And so we want to make sure that we continue supporting the discourse that can change our country. So, again, thank you so much for being there. I hope you can share the show for me. Unfortunately, I was not able to see exactly where the numbers are. But again, I'm hopeful that we were able to make an impact and reach a lot of folks. I'll be back here on Thursday with a continuation of this discussion. Who would be the next president, or who should be the next president in terms of character, in terms of attributes, instead of just, oh, the guy is handsome, or the guy is world best, or the guy is corporate, the guy is 40 years experience. No, we want somebody who will bring these character traits, who would mean well for the country, the things I'm talking about. So I'll come back with part two, because we got to look at the execution and delivery track of that person. That's what we want to look at. We want to look at the execution and delivery track. So the Liberia Presidential Performance Scorecard is what I'll be reviewing for our next president in 2029. What we should be looking for, instead of just running around every day. Oh yeah, yeah. Musa beat it day. Yeah, he beat him breach. What type of breach? The one that bicycle can get on, or footpath? These things. I mean, let us stop playing with our country's future. It's long overdue for us to move forward. We should find the right people. And I'm optimistic that there are great Liberians who want to be president. Maybe they're afraid because the people mindset. The people only know the people who they know today. And these are the people that continue to fail them time and time again. And so they are very hesitant to even go in a race, because the good character is on the line. They don't know them. The first question will be, but where the man coming from? But the man get on no rest? But what the man did for the community? Do you want this man who has these character traits that I talk about, who mean well, who will come and do well? And because if this man fixes the problems, you will enhance your abilities to get rice. You will enhance your abilities to pay your children's school fees, to have good health care. So let us always stop asking what people can do for us. Let me not take the what I can do for my country. No, it's not what people can do for us, but what they will do for our country. It's not what leaders can do for us. It's what those leaders will do for our country, because the country is greater than we, the us. We're just the us. Us can die, country can remain, right? Leaders can die, country can remain. Citizens can die, country can remain. So it shouldn't always be about us. It should be the country. So what kind of leader we need that will help change the country so that we can be better, so that we can have a better life? That should be our mindset when we go to 2029. Don't go focus on t-shirts and rice and all of that. Go to the polls knowing that the person that you're going to put there will deliver on the things I talked about. And we'll continue on Thursday with, as I said, the execution and the delivery track record. Thank you so much. Volcano Shelton saying good night. Have a good rest of your day. I'll be here on Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 p.m. in Liberia in the GMT time zone. Good night. Thank you.